Bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
All right. Well, here we go. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah. How you doing? Today's Wednesday, December 19th, 2018. 353 days into the new year, just 12 days left. Wow. We are live from a bunker somewhere in the middle of beautiful downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planet. I am your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? How you doing? Wow, that's right. 5. The number is 5. That's right. Tonight is our 5th anniversary. And it's also our first day of year number 6. And for that, and our last guest of the year, all on the same night, is Richard Bleepin' Dolan. That's right. What a great night we have in front of us. It's our last guest of 2018. And I've been saying this all week, as it should be. It's our 5th anniversary. You know, 3 things going on tonight, if you really think about it. It's our 5th anniversary. It's show number 968. It's the first day of our 6th year. And also, this is our last guest of the year. All of that, all wrapped up into one show. Our guest is Richard Dolan. He's going to be here at the bottom of the hour. And then tomorrow night is Thursday night, Fader night, and we'll celebrate. We'll take all of your phone calls tomorrow night, and we'll talk about all of that tomorrow night on the show. All right? Open lines. Teresa Yannaris, Divine Frequency on the airwaves will be here. Okay, now, follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. And I like that. 5, you caught that. That's cool. Follow us on Twitter. Hashtag F2B is the sandbox. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Also on Stellar, on Stellar.com. Head right over there. That is the social media network right there. On Stellar.com. Register, get registered. If you need a promo code, use my name, Jimmy. Simple enough. And send me a friend request over there, okay? And start posting your stuff and collect all of the knowledge that you desire, that you seek on Stellar.com. Of course, there is Facebook and there is YouTube. It's all easy to find, and you can go over to JimmyChurchRadio.com and click on those little buttons right now if you want to follow, like, and subscribe. Any questions or comments during the show tonight? Hashtag F2BQ. You can also email throughout the show, Jimmy at JimmyChurchRadio.com. All right, we've got a lot to get to tonight. Richard Dolan is our guest. And first, let's get to some breaking news. Pretty amazing stuff going on today. A report surfaced earlier saying that Facebook shared user data with more than 150 companies, including several large technology firms. And this is according to internal Facebook documents. Bing, Microsoft's search engine, was allowed to see the names of virtually all Facebook users' friends' accounts and friends without consent. This is according to the report, while Netflix and Spotify were given access to your private messages. Think about that for a second. Now, a 2011 consent agreement between Facebook and the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, required Facebook to have a comprehensive privacy program and to get the express consent of users before sharing their data. Facebook replied today saying that the 2011 FTC agreement didn't require it to have explicit consent for sharing user data with these partners' platforms because Facebook considered them to be extensions of its social network, where users engage with their Facebook contacts. Think about that for a second. The FTC may make a move. There may be some violations in play. Think about that. At least 63 professional journalists were killed during doing their jobs in 2018. That's right, a 15% increase over last year. And this is according to the Reporters Without Borders. The number of deaths rises to 80 when all media workers and people classified as citizen journalists are included. It's incredible. The world's 5 deadliest countries for journalists include, for the first time, the United States. Unbelievable. All right, next week, Wednesday, the day after Christmas, which is December 26th, Fade to Black is having our annual holiday party at the world-famous Rainbow Bar and Grill on the Sunset Strip right here in Hollywood, California. So if you would like to attend, it's the day after Christmas, Wednesday. Send me an email. Let me know. Get on the guest list. Okay? All right? You can go over to our Facebook events page and RSVP there too as well. All right? Now, we are expecting a couple of hundred people. You know, it's a holiday party. That's what we would like to see. That's what we're expecting. Now, open cash bar. It's a cash bar. Free admission. All you've got to do is show up, be on the guest list, drop my name, Fade to Black. You get into the Rainbow. We book the entire club, okay, which is a restaurant. You can have dinner, cash bar, all of that, hang out with all of the Fadernauts. Yeah, there's going to be some celebs there. It's going to be cool. Lots of researchers and authors from our community are going to be in attendance. So come and hang out with all of us. You're going to walk in and go, these are the faces I was expecting to see. This is really cool. And all of the Fadernauts that are here in California, we've got Fadernauts coming in from around the country. And you've been hanging out on Twitter, doing all of that, and now you can do everything in person, right? So that is next Wednesday night, December 26th, at the Rainbow Bar and Grill. I've been getting a lot of emails. I'm coming. We're coming. We're going to be there. Okay, so let me know. Let me know if it's going to be a +1, +3, all of that. Okay? All right, and we'll see you next Wednesday night. And then right after that, yeah, in February, come join us at the 2019 Conscious Life Expo right here in Los Angeles at the LAX Hilton. Now, we've been talking about this. This is a big event this time around. It's always big. There's 15,000 attendees at the Conscious Life Expo. It's a ginormous conference, and it's so cool to have so many awakened, enlightened people in one place. You just feel the vibe the second you get there. All right, but this year it's extra special because we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of Chariots of the Gods with Eric Von Daniken, and I will be hosting the panel on Friday night, the Ancient Aliens panel. Friday night, keynote opening panel, right there, setting off the weekend. Friday night with Eric, Linda Moulton Howe, Jason Martell, Billy Carson, and David Wilcock. So get your tickets and get them early, okay? Get them. It's going to sell out. George Norrie, Nassim Haramein, Robert Schock, Daniel Brinkley, Grant Cameron, Julia Mossberg, Teresa Yannaris, and another 50 speakers will be presenting this year at the Conscious Life Expo. Click on the banners over at jimmychurchradio.com. You can go get your tickets and a full conference schedule right now. Okay. All right. Now, Hoffman's Optics. Yes, they make our Area 52 Jimmy Church model night vision goggles. They do that. They've got a great product line over there. I have gotten so much email this week about Christmas gifts and things, and okay, nothing like procrastinating. I do the same thing, but you've got to go to hoffmansoptics.com. hoffmansoptics.com. Contact Alec. Everything is there, the full product line and the new Gen 4. Think about that, right? Blue night vision. Night vision, Gen 4. You've got to check these out. Okay, so go to hoffmansoptics.com. Get yours now, okay? And you can go see, right? Your very own green chrome balls. There you go. All right, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. It's just $2 per month, updated every single day, over 900 archive shows right there. All the apps that you need. Click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com. You can also become an official Fade or Not over in our membership section of jimmychurchradio.com. Get everything that you want. You can get downloadable, commercial-free archives, updated every single day. You get a personal email to me. You get the bunker cam. And if you want to go full on to the Game Changer, renew your subscription, do all of that, autograph shirts and hats. It's all right there in our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. All right, let's get the show cracking. It's our 5th anniversary. Today is the first day of year number 6. Oh, man. And we only do this once a year, right? So I can say it a few times tonight. Let's get the show cracking. Happy birthday to today. Jake Gyllenhaal is 38 years old. Donnie Darko. That's it. Watch Donnie Darko. I did it again. Rita, it was so funny last week. I'm like, you know what? I'm going there. And the reason why I did, I had just listened to, I think it was Tears for Fears, right? I was like, man, you know what? I want to watch Donnie Darko. Rita's like, really? I said, yeah. And we did. We watched it start to finish last week. What an amazing movie. Jake Gyllenhaal today is 38 years old. His sister's in that movie, too, as well. Chris Angel, Mind Freak, today is 51 years old. Our dead guy's birthday today, Edith Piaf. 1915 to 1963, died so young at the age of 47. French singer, songwriter, cabaret performer, and film actress. Noted as France's national chanteuse and one of the country's most widely known international stars, best known for her Grammy Hall of Fame inducted classic, La Vie en Rose. She was raised by prostitutes who worked at her mother's brothel. She worked as a street singer after having her first daughter when she was just 17 years old. And although she was denied, listen to this, she was denied a funeral mass by the Cardinal Maurice Felton because of her lifestyle. Her funeral procession drew tens of thousands of mourners onto the streets of Paris, and the ceremony at the cemetery was attended by more than 100,000 fans. But then, on October 10th, 2013, 50 years after her death, the Roman Catholic Church gave her a memorial mass in the Saint Jean Baptiste Church in Belleville, Paris, the parish that she was born. There you go. Happy birthday, Edith Piaf. On this day in history, 1972. The Apollo lunar landing program ends on December 19th, 1972, when the last 3 astronauts to travel to the moon splashed down safely, allegedly, in the Pacific Ocean. Apollo 17 had lifted off from Cape Canaveral, Florida, 10 days before. It happened on this day in 1972. Fader fact. The FBI followed Einstein. That's right. Followed Einstein, compiling a 1,400-page file after branding him a communist because he joined an anti-lynching civil rights group. And that is your Fader fact. Tonight, our 5th anniversary, it is Richard Bleepin' Dolan. I almost let it slip. I did. Richard Bleepin' Dolan. Our last guest of 2018. Our guest on our 5th anniversary special. And on top of that, he's Richard Bleepin' Dolan, and he's our first guest of our 6th year. Tomorrow night is another Fader night with Teresa Yannaris and Divine Frequency on the airwaves, followed by open lines all night long. Right now, Richard Dolan is listening to Mannheim Steamroll, but he'll say Bach when asked. That's funny. Mark, that's hilarious. You already know what my first question is, don't you? All right, so check this out. I love my River Moon coffee. I love my River Moon coffee. Yeah. All right. So, yeah, it's our 5th anniversary. And looking back over the last 5 years with countless interviews and phone calls about the UFO subject, contact, sightings, and it got me thinking. And for some reason, this week, I've mentioned the spinning beer can daylight sighting I had up at East Eddy Ranch a few times. And earlier today, I watched James Gilliland's latest video. It's called Contact Has Begun. And he did it with Peter. And in the video, I recount the sighting. Now, it's kind of weird how the universe works, right? It's just weird how synchronicity happens. But I did mention it a few times this week. And I did it with Alexis Brooks, too, as well. For some reason, it just came up. And then, the new video was released today, and I peeped it out, and there I am. I didn't expect that, but there I am talking about this sighting, right? And the more that I think about it, the more incredible it becomes. And I'm talking about that sighting, a daylight sighting. You see, night watch is one thing. Going out there with the night vision goggles, that's one thing. It's incredible, right? It's truly amazing. And I get that. But when you have a real daytime sighting with witnesses, well, that is special. And it is also the Holy Grail. It's big league stuff. I have talked a lot about the green chrome balls and the blue Zorro Z. We've seen these things, and these sightings are incredible. And I've had a lot of them. I've had some with Richard Dolan, and it's really cool. But a daytime sighting, right? And for some reason, I can't get it out of my brain this week. I see it. It was only 15 seconds long. That's it. 15 seconds, which is actually an eternity when you think about it. But it was at 3 p.m. with a perfectly blue sky. With the direction it was heading, it shouldn't have been 15 seconds long. It should have been like 5, 10, maybe 15, 20 minutes long of viewing going across the sky because it was moving slow. But it just decided to disappear. But here's the thing. I still can't get over the shock. I can't. When it first appeared, it was like, what? You don't expect anything like this to happen. And I need to stress this with you. Right? When you least expect it. You know? And this is what's most important to me. It wasn't moving fast. It was huge. It was perfectly in focus, and it was lit up by the sun. I saw everything. And because it was moving so slowly from west to east, I was able to look at it. It wasn't a streak. It wasn't a flash or something that just blasted by for a second or two. No. This was, at first, you need to understand, it was huge. And second, it was just cruising. It was just, it's like this. Like that. Just cruising. It made itself visible. That's the only way I can look at it. I wish that I was able to see it disappear. I didn't see it. I remember looking at it through the binoculars, right? I'm at this table, picnic table, and I had a tripod with my binoculars mounted to it, these huge, ginormous Celestron binoculars. And I was just looking at the mountain. So when this is going on, I look down into the binoculars, and, I'm looking. And then I go back off, and I can still see it, right? I'm like, wow, and everybody's talking, and we're looking. And I go back, and it's gone. And I was like, where'd it go? And I went to move it, and it's not there. And I come up, it's gone. I didn't see it disappear. Where, so to say that it flew away, didn't see it. Did it just dissolve into nothing? I didn't see it. Did it just blip and disappear? I didn't see it. I didn't see it disappear. I didn't see it fly away. I didn't see what happened to it. And here's the thing. Although I still can't get over the shock, right, of it, because I didn't get to see it, end. I didn't get the resolve. I didn't get the finish, and I went back to the binoculars. It's gone. The moment has passed, and everybody around me, as I'm just, I'm bummed. You go from this adrenaline to this. Everybody is saying, it's gone. It just disappeared. I looked up. It's gone. It's just a clear blue sky, and the spinning beer can just apparently left as quick as it appeared. And here's the other thing that needs to be understood when we talk about this. I was looking up at the top of Mount Adams for about 15 minutes before this thing happened. And the object did not show itself from the left, right? I've got the mountain in front of me. It appeared over here. It didn't come across the sky and fly behind the mountain. That's not what happened. Okay, I was looking at the mountain. I was looking at the birds. I was looking at everything around it. It just appeared on this side, on the west side, or on the east side of the mountain. There was nothing on the west. It appeared from behind the mountain. I can't explain it. I just can't. It's just the way that it happened. I had a full view of everything on both sides and above Mount Adams. And what did it look like? Again, if you hold up a beer can in front of you, you hold up I don't have a beer can in the studio. You would think that I did. Oh, you know what? This is a better example. Here. Okay. Fade to black. Cold press. Imagine this. And you know what? This is a pretty good example. It had a silver circle right here, had a silver circle, and it was going like this. So I could see this, and then it was black, and then I could see this thing, and that's how everybody knew it was spinning, because we could see this. So imagine that spinning at about this speed, just 200 feet tall, I don't know, 300 feet tall, I don't know how, but 14 miles away, and it's just cruising. And that's what it was. That's what it looked like. There's no wings, there's no propellers, there's no lights, there isn't anything. It's not a balloon. It's this. And then it just disappeared. So it was in the middle of the day. The sun was perfect. I could see everything. It was just in focus. It was unbelievable. And I'm so glad that we had all of the witnesses at that moment. Because when you see something like this and you're alone, it's just a story. It's a good story, but it's just a story. All of us had witnessed the Holy Grail, a real daytime UFO event. Incredible. All of the night vision, all of the other things that I've seen, the black triangle and the photograph, and okay, all right, great stuff. And I can't take anything away from any of that. It was just amazing. But this, I'm trying to explain it to you so you can understand. It was incredible. And I just keep going back to that moment. That moment. Looking in the binoculars and I'm looking at the top of the mountain, it's brown, and the blue sky back of it, and just came out spinning. Incredible. That's why we do this show. And when you hear me possibly, and I don't do this often, but when I come down on somebody or things or companies or whatever, it's just, you have to understand where I am coming from. If you have evidence and you don't want it, you claim that you have it and you don't present it, I've got issues with that. I need to get the answers. I need to find out. I want to know what this was. And I'm depending on things and disclosure, to break out, So if you've got evidence, don't say that we can't handle it. Just present it. That's number one. Number two, if you do present something, you're at a conference, you're in a video, and you show something on the screen, and you're bringing this forward, make sure that it is correct and that it is authentic and that it's real. Because I'm looking for these answers. I have come forward. I have spoken about this. I have witnesses out there that are sitting beside me that have seen these things. And we want these answers. So that's why I am critical. I'm not out here faking it. I'm not out here phoning it in. I want these answers. And here we go. 2019 is here. We're going to start our 6th year on this broadcast, and it is my mission for this community to get these answers. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, our guest is the one and only Richard Bleepin' Dolan. And I'll be right back right after this short break. We're going to kick this night off, and it's going to be all that. I can feel it. 5. I'll be right back. Stay with us.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, folks. It's a holiday season with hope in the air. Things to look forward to and no time for despair. Health can be a challenge, and so can the mail. So Get the Tea wants to help you by giving you a sale. Buy 2 months of Super Tea and get 1 month for free. No limit. That's buy 2 months of Super Tea and get 1 month free. That's a savings of $35. Where? GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Scroll down on the front page and find the Buy 2, Get 1 free ad. Click it and save. Orders over $100 get free shipping. Send the gift of life. Change tea at GetTheTea.com. We have many non-GMO organic supplements just waiting for you. This holiday season, enjoy health and Thanksgiving with GetTheTea.com. Want to call us? 928-308-0408. That's 928-308-0408. GetTheTea.com is a proud sponsor of doing what's right. That's GetTheTea.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Do you want to lose weight but have no idea where to begin? The Fast Start Diet, a 3-day weight loss plan, is the answer. 3 days of nutritionally balanced, calorie-restricted meals delivered right to your door. No shopping, no measuring, and no cooking. Everything is prepared for you and ready to eat at home or on the go. The Fast Start Diet has all the amazing benefits of intermittent fasting without starving. We've helped thousands of people who have struggled to reach their weight loss goals. Isn't it time we helped you? With the Fast Start Diet, you'll lose weight and feel great.
Find Fast Start Diet on Amazon or go to faststartdiet.com and use promo code TALK to get 10% off your first box. And as a special bonus, Fast Start will include their #1 rated Lipo3 appetite suppressant spray free with your order. This is Jimmy Church. And whatever your diet plans are, do what I did. Go to faststartdiet.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. On the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. That's right. Tonight is our 5th anniversary. It is also our first day of our 6th year. Pretty incredible. That's why Richard Bleepin Dolan is here. Richard is also our last guest in 2018. So it's a pretty incredible evening, and everything is as it should be. And I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black, Richard Bleepin Dolan. Richard, good evening, man. How are you?
Hi, Jimmy. It's a pleasure to be here and an honor to be your last guest of the year, first guest of your sixth season now.
Yeah,
wow.
Crazy, huh? Crazy,
So, yeah, thank you.
Crazy. And you know, when you think about it, welcome back, Richard. And 2018 was a pretty crazy year, but this is what is amazing to me is I look back to the first time that you and I met, which was also the first time that I interviewed you. We did that live broadcast, and here in Los Angeles, that was 5 years ago, man. You know,
yeah, that's when I smacked my head on a tree branch just before I came in, and had a welt the size of a small chicken egg that developed on front of my forehead while I was up there with you.
You know, Richard, I'm just going to let you know. I don't know if you actually know this, but I was pretty traumatized because you looked at me. I watched it. You know, I was outside with you when you did it. And when you walked into the tree, you walked inside, you looked at me.
It was dark. I just have to say it was dark.
It was dark. It was dark. But you looked at me. You were a little cross-eyed, right? A little cross-eyed. And you looked at me and you go, how do I look? And as I'm watching it grow, right in front of me. And I go, dude, you look fine. And I'm just thinking to myself, that looks nasty, man.
This guy will be dead by midnight.
What was I supposed to do? Go, dude, oh my God, you know, and then, which is how I felt, but that would.
I don't know if there's video of that anywhere.
There is video. There is video, but see, the thing is, we caked on the makeup. Remember, we.
I do, yeah, vaguely, yeah.
We had to. Oh man, what a night that was! But anyway, here we are, 5 years later, and wow, just an incredible ride. You've been along with this for all of it. So thank you for your support and friendship and all of that. It's been incredible.
Absolutely.
Now, okay, first question of the night. I know this is going to come as a surprise to you. Last song you listened to today, you rock and roller.
Oh, man, I hadn't thought about this.
I'm not buying that.
I'm going to tell you what I've been listening to a lot lately, and I have a feeling the one that's in my mind. I've had a lot of we've had a lot of Christmas music on, a lot of jazz crooners, and I'm just going to say Dean Martin, "Let It Snow."
Oh, God, very nice. Very nice.
It's a great one. And it's certainly, I don't know if it's the last one, but it's like in my head, and we've been hearing it a lot, and I know it's been very recent.
Yeah, mine.
So that's what we're going to go with.
Mine today, I'm going to admit, I'm just going to say it, Burl Ives. And
he's on all the time.
He's on all the time, and I'm listening here in LA.
Which one though? There's the Frosty, the Snow.
Have a holly jolly Christmas. Have a holly jolly Christmas.
Of course.
You know. Of course. And so I came home. I was out doing some stuff. And I came home, and Rita was in the kitchen. I came in singing that song, and she just spins around. Stop.
It's a great song.
No, it's not that. It's my voice. Man, it'll curdle milk. So anyway, but yeah, Burl Ives.
Anyone makes that song sound good. Jimmy, you could make it sound good. I believe it. I sang with you one time. I remember.
Yes.
And you can do it.
You know, well, we hit, one solid, it was a good thing it was the last note too. But we just found that harmony, and
that's right.
And okay,
we sang "Happy Birthday." Well, I'm glad you sang some Burl Ives. I'm very happy.
Okay, now
it's a good song, and it's wonderful.
Tonight, I want to talk UFOs, and the reason why you and I enjoy your research and talking about your research and getting that out of you, which is based on history and Washington and of course AD after disclosure and documents and false flags, and you're a historian and it's a great zone to get into, to get educated. I get that, but I've never. We've had sightings together. We've done a lot of things, but you and I have never really talked UFOs, right?
No, in terms of what they are, how they do what they do, the science of that, that sort of thing.
We've never done it. See, even you are going that sort of thing. That's because we've never done it. So that's what we're going to do
I think
tonight.
We probably haven't.
And is this is the UFO subject like this? Is it your comfort zone? Are you comfortable? Is it in your comfort zone?
I am, yes, absolutely. I mean, I'll just say when I got into UFOs, and I think anyone who's ever encountered anything that I've written or said would gather, the thing that has always driven me is the discrepancy of this obvious reality and the cover-up that is hiding it. So the politics of the UFO phenomenon have always been the main thing that's driven me. But look, the thing is, when you study anything long enough, I mean, it's a real puzzle, and the science of UFOs is definitely something that I've made myself become at least somewhat familiar with, where I'm comfortable with the concepts and interested in talking about it. I will say, when I wrote UFOs for the 21st Century Mind a few years ago, that really forced me. It was a great opportunity, I should say, for me to delve into a lot of the sciences, and I say sciences plural, that intersect with the UFO subject. So yeah, I mean, absolutely, it's very interesting, and it's also revolutionary because when you really start looking into it, UFOs are one of these things that are supposed to be impossible, but they're not impossible because they exist. And so for that reason, we want to ask ourselves, what is it that what are the sciences that might make them possible, because somehow they are.
This is what is interesting when you your mind works this way. When you start to put these ideas down, now you have A, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. B, 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, the list starts to expand, and you get into subgroups. And because you said it correctly, science is. Right? It is not one simple conclusion. It can't be. And one of the reasons why, for me, that it can't be, one simple thing, is that when you consider like the Drake equation, antiquated, you can throw that out now. Recent physics, astrophysics, and the study of the universe is now presenting this one fact. And this is what blows the Drake equation and even the Fermi paradox, which are two different things, right? Two different things.
Oh, yeah. They're totally different.
Totally different, and you can almost back burner them now. We have to reconsider and rewrite these. And one of them is this. Our galaxy, the Milky Way, forget about the universe, the Milky Way, 200 billion stars. Now, postulate that for a second. Just let that simmer. That every one of those stars has a planet. Now, there is a possibility here, and astrophysicists, astronomers, cosmologists are now firmly planted in this thought that there could be more planets than stars in the Milky Way. Now we are.
Yeah, well, that's probably the case.
That is probably the case.
We have one star that we know, our own, which has 9.
Exactly.
Or 10, if you want to include Pluto.
Exactly. Now we
and
are
a bunch of other satellites.
Now we are talking about this is where this is just the Milky Way. This isn't the other 500 billion galaxies.
I would just make one qualification to what you said. I don't think it invalidates the Drake equation. I think it makes it a lot more interesting. The Drake equation is simply a bunch of variables that astronomer Frank Drake put together almost 60 years ago. I mean, unbelievable. As a way to just take a wild guess as to how likely life is in the rest of the universe. And so all he did is he said, number of stars that are similar to our sun. I mean, I can't remember all the variables, and number of those stars that may have planets. Number of stars that have planets that may have atmosphere that is life supporting, and on and on and on. So basically, it was just all of these different variables that it's narrowed down more, and that's really all that it is. So it's the equation that's still, I would say, reasonable. But what I think you're suggesting, which I agree with, is that it now seems like there are so many planets, and our exoplanetary studies are now, whereas 20, 30 years ago that we had no knowledge of any of this, we've now got confirmation of, I think it's several thousand now, solar system planets.
9,000.
A few that are Earth-like that we believe, and that are capable of supporting life. So we're finding them. They're clearly out there. It's obvious.
And so what I am saying is about the Drake equation is you don't need it. You don't even need it. You don't need the Drake equation.
Right. No, that's
it's just antiquated. You don't need it. We know these things.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
It's a crazy thought. And so now science is, right? So when we take this basic fundamental number, it could be, it's a crazy number, right? 100 billion planets. And it took us 4.5 billion years, the Earth, to get to where we are today. How many of those planets? Well, the majority of them and stars are at least that old. So how many different civilizations are aware of us? Not specifically Earth, but they're out there doing what we're doing, Richard. They're out there exploring.
I think so.
Right?
I firmly believe this, yeah.
And so Earth is just this is where I get a little bit nuts with this. Earth is just another planet that is cool, right? There is another 50 billion rocky planets out there with water on it that are probably more paradise-like than our planet.
Yeah, what's interesting? It's like you can think of Earth. There's a difference in saying there might be like another 3 or 4 or 5 planets like Earth that have life just like us. But then when you think, what if there's a billion? What if there's a trillion other worlds like our own? Then it gets really kind of crazy.
It gets nuts.
And is that the case? Well, first of all, we don't really know yet. But look, it does seem more and more that there are probably a lot, probably a lot. Just the way, if the universe is consistent in its chemistry and in the physics, which there's no reason not to think that, there's probably many, many other opportunities for planets comparable to Earth to have been created, and then for life like ours. There's still the other side of it, by the way. Let's not forget, there are scientists who will say, for example, we are unique. Why are we unique? And they'll say, we have the moon. And then they look at the moon and they say, the moon is a very unusual satellite. The moon has stabilized a lot of life on Earth, and experts can tell you all the reasons why. And there's, I think, probably a lot of truth to that. But nonetheless, are we really to think that life can't evolve to an advanced degree on planets that don't have a moon just like ours? I'm guessing they can.
Yeah, it's a numbers game, just like the Drake equation. It's a numbers game in that you and I, if we sit with a deck of cards and we play a card game. I don't care to pick the card. We play poker, right? And we shuffle those cards and deal out some hands. Eventually, I don't know how long it would take, but we will deal and have an identical deck where we will deal identical cards. And it's the same thing with the universe and our Milky Way. It's a numbers game. Somewhere out there, Richard, there are dudes doing a radio show named Richard and Jimmy talking about other planets out there. Right
You're
now.
Freaking me out, man.
I know, right? Time to do a bong hit. But that's really what we're dealing with here. And how much more advanced or not, that's a whole nother thing to consider. But who is visiting us here? It's a crazy number, and what the reasons are for being here are as varied as the stars that are in the Milky Way.
Sure. When I think of the sciences that intersect with UFOs, so I guess you've just been getting into one of them, which is astronomy and astrophysics and exobiology and the like. But then, there's always the objection that many scientists still have relating to UFOs, which is not that there isn't a lot of life out there. They will say, sure, there's probably an amazing amount of life out there, but that doesn't mean that they are able to get here. And they will always come down to something that actually many of us do tend to overlook, which is the vast, shall we say, astronomical distances between the stars. And they really are quite amazing, actually. When you, every now and then, you can get a physicist or an astronomer to give you a kind of graphical representation of the distance between the stars. And, everyone's heard these things. And it's immense. It's like beyond immense. And it's really true that we don't know of a confirmed science that will get us right now to even the nearest star. However, this is where I think the science has really, become interesting, because if we accept the validity of these many, many UFO reports, and if we accept the validity of a great amount of testimony that indicates at least some of these beings don't appear to be human, they don't seem to come from here. So that's interstellar travel, and how might that be possible? And in fact, here's the thing. We've developed mathematics and science in the last 20, 25 years that go a very long way toward explaining just how you can do interstellar travel, and it doesn't take forever, and you're not violating any laws of the speed of light limitation, but there are ways around it. It's basically an end run around this, and we're talking about essentially warp drive. And by that, I'm talking about mathematical equations. A gentleman named Miguel Alcubierre back in the 1990s did the math, and it seems, as far as I can tell, it was definitive. He developed the theory of warp drive, which is to create a disturbance in space-time. You're in a craft, and you need a sufficient amount of energy to do this, but if you're able to, you can shrink space or space-time in front of you, extend it behind you. You're in a kind of space-time bubble. And so it's a distortion of space-time would therefore propel you, or actually more accurately, your spaceship forward like a surfer riding a wave. Within that bubble, you're not breaking any laws of physics, but what you're actually doing is you're warping space and time while you're at it, because space and time are a fabric. Now, the biggest problem with that mathematics, which again appear to be totally sound, is that scientists have said, well, we have no idea how to generate that much energy to warp space-time. But now I'm hearing, I think it was a paper by physicist Eric Davis recently. He's associated with Hal Puthoff. He was working with Bigelow, and he were on the NIDS ranch back, the Skinwalker Ranch in the 90s. But Eric Davis, if I'm not mistaken, has suggested that there may be ways of generating the amount of energy, and it may not be as much as we had thought. So whether that's true or not, I don't know, but it seems to me that our scientists are definitely moving ahead. That's just one fascinating science. That is the science of interstellar travel. And what amazes me is that you've got this phenomenon, we call it UFOs. It gets ignored. Even now, even a year after the New York Times piece on the ATIP program and everything, the subject is still ignored by the establishment culture, establishment media, and yet it intersects with so many cutting-edge sciences, whether it's space-time or whether we're talking like electrogravitics, that's another thing we can get into, or energy. What are they using? Are they using nuclear fusion? Are they using zero point? How do they get from here to there? They're obviously not using petroleum, using something else. And dimensions, string theory, all of these things have their connection in one way or another to UFOs, even entanglement and consciousness. So there's all of these fascinating sciences that bump into the UFO subject, or that the UFO subject bumps into. That might be a better way to put it. And yet the UFO subject continually gets ignored year after year, when there's so much potential for real scientific progress to be made by a sophisticated study of it.
Yeah, I think we're getting closer to that too now. When like I said, it's just a numbers game. So when you start to put all of this forward, where science is saying, okay, there isn't just us, and it wasn't. This is the thing. It was just one lifetime ago, Richard. One lifetime ago, 1925. This is 2018, going into 2019. One lifetime ago, the universe was the Milky Way.
That's right.
One lifetime ago.
Yeah.
You know, and that number one is significant. Not only was it one lifetime ago, but there was only one. It was us. That's it. And here we are today, where science is going, wait a minute here. It's much bigger. These numbers are daunting. It's a crazy situation. There is no way that we are alone. Now let's figure out how we could be getting visited. And I think science now is right here. They're not only with the UFO community, it's just that it's a numbers game, and that's the way that they work. And now they have the ability to see these exoplanets and understand what's going on, and now they can seriously start to consider these.
It's just an amazing universe that we live in. I mean, we think of the Milky Way galaxy, and you're right, like up until the 20s, no one understood that there were other galaxies. Our galaxy has, I don't really even remember the number of stars, trillions, something, who knows? I don't, many, many, many trillions of stars. And there are trillions of galaxies. Good grief. And then you think of the space between the galaxies, which is beyond immense. I can't even, how do you fathom that?
Yeah, no. And
it's just an incredible universe that we find ourselves in.
There's
incredible.
There's one other aspect to this too as well. And I invite everybody in the audience to go and do this. Kepler, when you look at the Kepler images of the galaxies of the universe, it's galaxy clusters. Right. And so you look at these Kepler images, right? And you're looking at all these galaxies, right? And then you'll see some images that have a bunch of orange dots in them, look like stars, right? Or whatever. Those are galaxy clusters. So where you're thinking you're looking at, wow, 150,000 galaxies. This is great. This is amazing. Look at all and what's inside of those.
That's what galaxy cluster is?
Right. And then you, wait a minute. Then you go to the galaxy clusters and get those enlarged and look what you thought was just a star or a dot or a galaxy is actually another 100,000 galaxies. You know, it's like nuts, right? It's just like it's crazy, yeah, and I love it. I just love it. So it's just something that's so fascinating to me. So when we come back, let's talk about these propulsion systems and how these civilizations could be investigating the universe and checking us out, and we'll do all of that. Richard, you ready for this?
I hope so.
It's like buckle up, kiddies. Let's do this. It's our fifth year. It's our 5th year, and it's Richard bleeping Dolan. I thought he was going to say Carpenter's Christmas song. By the way, I'm just going to let everybody know.
Oh my God.
I thought Richard was going there. Actually, that's what I listened to today, but I couldn't admit it. I had to go Burl Lives.
The Carpenters.
We'll be right
They're
back.
They're sweet as well. They're nice.
Yes. We'll be right back. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Richard Dolan. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Come join us for the 2019 Conscious Life Expo in Los Angeles at the LAX Hilton. This year, we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of Chariots of the Gods with Eric Von Daniken, and I'll be hosting the panel with Eric, Linda Moulton Howe, Jason Martell, Billy Carson, and David Wilcock. Join George Norrie, Nassim Haramein, Robert Schock, Daniel Brinkley, Grant Cameron, Julia Mossbridge, Teresa Yannaris, and another 50 speakers who will be presenting at the 2019 Conscious Life Expo. Just go to ConsciousLifeExpo.com for tickets and a full conference schedule, or click on the CLE banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Go back, Lee Tappy.
Folks, this is very important information. What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied. But you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com and purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with you fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Have a great day.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Yes. We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And I'm Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. And you're listening to Jimmy Church. The Revolution.
Reclaim your active lifestyle with Angioprim. Angioprim is the original liquid oral chelation supplement. Chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in your veins and arteries that can cause blockages. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. Find out more. Go to angioprim.com. Talk to a trained consultant by calling Angioprim toll-free 877-882-7221.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hey, it's Grace. Can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger, you know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. I want to welcome everybody to this very special evening. It's our last guest of the year, Richard Dolan. It's our 5th anniversary. And it's a very cool night, and I do want to thank Richard for doing this during the holiday season once again. And Richard, okay, so talking about the signs of this, I'm going to get to this point as quick as possible. Probably 20 years ago, this thought popped into my head, and it was talking about nanotechnology, and I was into that at the time, and the thought of self-replicating nanobots, you know, infesting the earth and the singularity and all of that.
The gray goo.
Yeah, the gray goo. Right. So, but I thought about that, and I thought, but that's how they're getting here. You know, not necessarily one big mothership, which is, you know, another way that they're doing it. I'm sure about that. But building as they go. That's how, finding an asteroid, getting the minerals and the resources out of that and building and landing on a planet and getting and building, more.
I think that's quite reasonable.
Right.
That and the fact that they're very possibly the result of some kind of very advanced artificial intelligence themselves, either created as biological forms by an artificial intelligence or created as artificial intelligence themselves and partly organic and partly inorganic for all we know. I mean, there's all kinds of permutations there, but all of those.
Yeah, and I want to stay on that thought. That's a great point to bring out. If you are on your way to, say, planet Earth, right, and we spewed out some radio stuff. Now they now have a language to decode, right, and to figure out, and they've got all the time in the world to do that. Right? They're traveling the stars, and so by the time they get here, television transmit. Now that they've got our image, they know what we look like, they know what we talk like, and by the time they get here, they've built some biological android entity to represent us so we don't freak out. Right?
I've wondered this for sure. And there's a lot of there are many claims of people having encountered beings who look exactly like us but who are not like us. And I mean and of course this goes along with pardon me, claims that people have gone on craft and encountered both alien and human-looking beings.
Travis Walton, great
Travis
example.
Walton, probably the most famous of them.
Yeah.
But there's many claims of people who've encountered completely human-looking operators of these UFOs, and that can lead you to a couple of possibilities. A, is the UFO phenomenon solely human, created by basically a secret civilization here on planet Earth, a secret breakaway civilization of sorts? Or are these other beings from elsewhere, but the humans are like avatars of their society, or creations of their society in one way or another? I mean, you can really get into a lot of possibilities here.
Yeah, and if you flip it around, which is something that you like to do. No, somebody said, did Jimmy just snort? That wasn't me. That was Richard. But he sounds like me. He's got that radio voice.
I might have snorted when I laugh. Sometimes I'll snort. It's an embarrassing habit.
Is this? Let's flip it around for a second. Yeah. You and I, right? We're on our Starship Cruiser. We're going out. We found a planet that's got oxygen and water and the possibility of life, and maybe some type of electronic signals come off of it. Well, now I'm coughing. Thanks for that, Richard. Are you and I going to be first down on to this planet? You're not going to want to go first. I'm not going to want to go first. Of course not. We're going to build something to go down onto that planet to check it out, whether it be a robot or some type of android or some type of biological thing that we're going to create. But we're not going to set foot down there first, are we? Of course not. And so why would we expect the same from ET?
Yeah, exactly. It's funny. I was just recently thinking and talking about, remember the famous Condon Committee report. In fact, since we're talking about science, that was allegedly a scientific study of the UFO phenomenon back in the 1960s. Of course, in retrospect, it was a sham of a scientific study. I mean, an embarrassment, really, for anyone who really believes in science. But in that report, the lead physicist of the project, Edward Condon, wrote, he was very, very frustrated with UFOs and was a very strong skeptic debunker type. And he just said, look, if these aliens really wanted to show themselves, why don't they just land, he didn't say on the White House lawn, but for a meeting of the National Association of Physicists while we were having an annual meeting, and land and present us with a formal paper on how they operate and what their, how their capabilities are and so forth. And I just thought, what a stupid thing to say. Like, what an embarrassingly dumb thing for an American, a famous American physicist to say relating to the landing of extraterrestrial life. Like, that's exactly not how it would go down under any logical situation. You just wouldn't ever expect anything like that. And I think what you just said, you're not a famous physicist, but is far more logical than what Edward Condon hypothesized that would be the likely thing.
And I think we're getting closer to this type of mindset. You know, our science is one thing, but us as humans, we're getting smarter every single day, right? These things are.
I'm going to hold off on that judgment.
If you know what I'm saying, you know, we're starting to grow up.
I really don't know if we are. I think we may not be. I think, like, really, we may be becoming less intelligent with each generation, and certainly over each century. I'm really not sure that we're becoming more intelligent, but. Do you think we are? Do you think we're becoming more intelligent?
I think we're understanding things. I think we are understanding things make much more sense. And if we go back to
right. Yeah, our leading science is doing a pretty good job at figuring things out. I'll agree with that.
Yeah, you know, I think we're just getting a little bit smarter. That's all. We're growing up. You know, if we look at all of humanity, you know, let's go back 150,000 years, and to where we are today and where we have come in the last 100 years. You know what? That makes us like 8 years old then. You know, we're just getting, you know, a little more mature and a little more sensible about things, and certainly about our universe and
maybe. But I'm just going to put this out for you.
Sure.
Our brains are 10 to 15% smaller than our forebears of just 10,000 years ago.
You know
who were
why?
Hunters and gatherers.
Do you know
10
why?
10 to 15% smaller.
Do you know why? I can tell you why.
Yes. Well, I also do know why. At least I think I know why. I know what some of the leading hypotheses are, which I think are credible.
Okay.
I'll give you my theory if you give me yours.
Okay. Who's going to go first? I'll go first because I'll inflame
Why
everybody.
Why are our brains smaller than our hunter-gatherer forebears of just 10,000 years ago?
Vegetarians. That's right. I said it. It's our diet.
Yeah, no, you may be onto something. I think that's part of it.
Yeah. Sugar and protein. Red meat.
Oh, well, now that's sugars are very recent addition.
That's why. That's right.
Last couple of 100 years.
That's right.
Basically.
Hold on. It's this. What got us here, our development, to right here, right now, were a couple of things. One, we ate red meat forever. Okay, it wasn't until 10,000 years ago where we developed the ability to break down starches in our mouth.
That's right.
Okay?
Yeah.
So that was the beginning of the degrading of the brain. I
agree with you. So we're on it. I just read this really cool book earlier this year called Against the Grain. Isn't that an interesting title? By I think he's over at Yale, named James Scott. And I've talked about him a lot this year. I wonder how he thinks about having a UFO researcher really into his book. But anyway, be that as it may, he makes this argument. Essentially, the amount of mass that we've lost from our brain is equivalent to someone taking an ice cream scoop to their brain and removing that amount, and then you get our brain. Like, that's actually how much they've lost. And it's partly the protein or the meat thing. I think that's true. But I think even in a more general sense, it's, when we think of how we domesticated other animals, like the sheep or like the dog or like goats, well, we've also, he pointed out, similarly domesticated ourselves as a species, because it's not simply that our brains are smaller. We have 20% less bone density. We have less muscle mass. Our best athletes today would be totally run-of-the-mill 10,000 years ago. It's an amazing thing. Now, scientists today will say, well, yeah, we have a smaller brain, but it's better organized, which is like, that's first of all, who really knows? Secondly, that's a pretty lame booby prize if you really get down to it. Like, oh yeah, we're better organized. It's a smaller brain. So I think what it means is that the hunter-gatherers had much more to do with their brain actually than we do. Like, they had to be on their game every single day. You had to know where the birds are migrating, what time of year they're migrating, where are these animals going to migrate from here to there, and how do you organize yourself to be able to capture that amount of food and so forth. Like, it's really amazing the amount of planning and coordination that had to be done in that type of society. And with sedentary agriculture, so it's partly diet, but partly just the way that we live in these societies. Certain types of skills are not needed.
Yeah, the brain never shut down. It never shut down back then. You had to survive. Sleep. Nighttime was about surviving. It wasn't about relaxation. You had to figure out how you were going to make it through the night, right? So your brain never shut down. It was focused on survival and expanding your family, right? and eating 24/7. It was constantly thinking. Today,
so anyway, when you're
relax.
saying that you think we're getting smarter, like I understand what you mean. Like we're learning more about the way the world and the universe is, but I don't really know. Like in our society, even if we actually are becoming more intelligent, I think in a lot of ways one can argue we're becoming much less intelligent than our even like our great grandparents' generation or prior.
Now, okay, so back to the UFO question. When we look at the basic of the basics, which is entropy, right? That's it. If we just and you can apply that to your day-to-day existence, right? You start off in the morning pretty organized. You get to the end of the day and it's all come apart, right? or you could look at it as the universe and the Big Bang, or you can look at us as a society today, which is coming apart at the seams. Whatever it is, well, certainly E.T. is dealing with those same things. So they would have to organize, keep it together, and not dissolve as a civilization long enough to come here. So they may have figured out a way to get around entropy. And we need to figure that out. If we're going to go to the stars, if we're going to go interstellar, we need to be around in the future. We need to figure out how to not come apart.
May I suggest one thing that I think they may have done? And you're not going to like this, but one thing they may have done is, look, if you really go by the research of some, let's say, abduction researchers, people like David Jacobs, for example, or not even just him, but a number of other these researchers who talk about these aliens that have a kind of hive mind in which they're totally telepathic with each other, but they also have no free will. They have no if one believes in this scenario, no real creativity, no real independent will. It's all groupthink. And that actually can be an advantage in the sense that it would mitigate against a lot of fluctuations within the society. And one thing about human society, it makes us very interesting, but it also makes us unstable, is that we've got all these different people with different ideas, and we argue with each other, and we're fighting for resources and so forth. If we lived like the Borg, like within a hive mind where we're all just following orders, or we're all literally artificially created for a purpose, and we do not exceed that purpose, first of all, that would be a horrible way for, I think, all of us to live. I think it's fair to agree. But it would also create a much more stable, at least in theory, a more stable society. And it could just allow them, as long as they're not dealing with new challenges to them, they could be stable for a very long time like that.
And control entropy. Very, very interesting point.
Yeah. Until they themselves... I mean, in the way that this is how evolution works. Like, think of an animal like the shark. The shark hasn't changed in evolutionary terms, or at least most shark species haven't, for a long time. Like, the shark's been a very stable species for a long, long time. And there's not a whole lot of innovation in a shark. Like a shark it's an ocean-killing machine, right?
Right.
But it's able to do that because it's incredibly well designed to do what it does. And so it's been a very stable form for a long time. Now, if the shark were to deal with an ocean predator that was much more intense than it, much more capable than it, rather, then it would face its problems. In fact, it's doing that now because it's coming up against human beings. And it's a shark can't really adapt to those threats. And so if an alien species may be very, very well adapted to dominate its ecosystem, as it were, until it comes up with against a species that is perhaps more capable, more creative, more dangerous, and then they might have to adapt from their hive mentality, conceivably, into something that might be more innovative. I'm just hypothesizing here, but it does seem to me that as long as a species doesn't encounter grave threats from somewhere else, they can survive a long, long time under conditions of basically a complete totalitarian hive-like society.
If we, one of the basic questions that I have when we consider all of this, civilizations that are out there, which are probably in the tens of millions. It's not 1, 2, 3, 4. It's an extraordinarily large number that has been reproducing and interstellar travel and taking over planets and moving forward and expanding, just like we do here on Earth. That's what we do. We go and occupy new land and we do that. We grow. Well, if that is the case, why haven't they done that here? It's like this weird situation where obviously we're monitored. They are obviously here. They've been checking us out. There's been enough communication and evidence of this for millennia. Why haven't they done that here? Or they just haven't arrived yet.
Oh, why haven't they? I'm sorry. Why haven't they
taken over the planet? Yeah.
Well, yes, an interesting theory. I mentioned Dave Jacobs a little earlier, and partly because I recently chatted with him and had a really long, engaging conversation with him about his research. It's very interesting that he, still, very strongly, I would say, believes that there has not been a plan for an alien takeover until really sometime, maybe it began in the 19th century, so relatively recently. And so that's how he would explain it. He says they've been doing it, they're working on it, and it's just taking a little bit of time, but they're patient and they're doing it by means of infiltration rather than destroying us. But then I said to him, well, what about the phenomenon of ancient UFOs or ancient aliens? I mean, do you have an opinion about this? Do you think that we've been visited for a long time? I mean, many of us do believe this. And it was just interesting for me to talk to an extremely, David's a very, very knowledgeable person about the entire UFO phenomenon. And his attitude was, well, it's possible that they were here. Others have been here a long time. He doesn't rule it out, but he says, look, the evidence we have is not, in his opinion, a slam dunk. And if those others have been here long ago, they don't seem to be here now. They may have come and gone, but that's his opinion. Now, I don't know if I agree with that. It seems like there's something wrong with that. On the other hand, it's hard to argue against the idea of this, what your question asking, this idea of an alien takeover. Like if the Greys were here 1,000 years ago and engaging in a hybridization program, they would have done it by now. They would have been done. So maybe David's right in that the gray aliens, or the insectilin aliens, as he calls them, are only a recent addition, only recently arrived here, and that there may have been other types of interactions in earlier times. It's hard to know. I think that we're still like little kids looking through a dark glass window into a store where we're not allowed inside, and we're just trying to figure out what's going on. There's still so much that is opaque to us, and that's the maddening thing. Yeah. All I can say is that there's definitely another intelligence or intelligences that are interacting with us here, and I feel like we've made some progress over the last several generations, but we have a long way to go in figuring this out.
Yeah, and I keep going back to when I try to answer that question. Well, why haven't they done it? Why? Well, we keep thinking that Earth is the only perfect planet. That this is the only one, that it's so unique here, and the water and the distance from the sun. It's just so unique. I'm going to be straight. The minerals, the things, the resources that are here are scattered all over this galaxy. And there are bigger and better planets and more cool places than Earth. It just may not be that appealing. There may be other. I'm just trying to figure out why.
I think Earth would be of value. We have a lot of heavy minerals. We've got an abundance of life, and even if life is abundant elsewhere in the universe, we still have, I would say, potentially many unique forms of genetic material that, hey, if you're skilled at manipulating genetic material, that could be quite valuable. There could be a number of reasons why other beings would be interested in us and indeed interested in us, human beings. It's easy for us to disparage ourselves, but I maintain that we're really a fascinating species, and we have a definite high order of intelligence. We're not omnipotent, we're not omniscient, but we're able to figure things out, and we're interesting. We come up with ideas. We're not totally lame. We had Shakespeare and Beethoven, and we've had other interesting intellectuals throughout our time. So I think other people, other beings who have been able to observe us could very well think, keep an eye on these people. They may turn up to do something very interesting.
Well, the question of water is brought up a lot. We have so much water on this planet. But if you're an advanced alien species, you are the most abundant things in this universe. Well, one of them, the top of the list, is hydrogen. You can get water is everywhere. You could manufacture it. You can extrapolate. You can pull out any minerals, anything that you need out of any star. If you have the technology, you can go and manufacture and get all of the resources that you need. To build a Dyson sphere, right, to be that kind of advanced civilization, to go and do that, you're not using the minerals off of your planet, the resources off of your planet. Right. You wouldn't have a planet left. You're going to be able to go and get those and manufacture that stuff. That's my take. So I'm just trying to figure out why, Well, just maybe we're not that unique. They're here checking out, maybe modifying our DNA and visiting every day because it's interesting, and they're doing the same thing with millions of other planets and cataloging and doing the science and hanging out here. Sure, that all of that is going on, but I'm trying to figure out why we haven't been invaded, right? Why we haven't been wiped off. Look, if you are going to have a giant Colossus mothership, and you're going to travel across the universe to come here and wipe us out, you're not going to have a shootout with laser guns. You're going to have a virus and whatever. It's going to be the craziest instantaneous takeover. We wouldn't even know that it happened. Right?
They'd need some time to figure that stuff out. I mean, even a highly intelligent, technologically advanced other civilization would need to come here, do some tests, figure out what kind of virus can we create, and so forth. So it wouldn't be necessarily immediate, but in theory, sure. I mean, why not?
Sure. And they
eventually
some kind of crazy atomic weapon, whatever, but it would. You would think if they had the resources to have a ship to get here, they've got all the time in the world and all the technology to take us out. So why?
Why they haven't? I don't know.
Yeah,
it's hard
exactly.
To say. I don't think we have an answer to that.
And that's why you're on this show. And let's take a break right here, Richard. It is our 5th anniversary. Richard Bleepin Dolan is our guest. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. And you can follow Rich at Rich Dolan. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously, go Beckley Teppy. Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
If you have hard water, the lime scale not only leaves white spots, it clogs pipes and breaks down appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars in energy and wear. Eliminate lime scale and other water issues like brown staining and bad odors with HydroCare water products available from Wave Home Solutions. Wave's affordable water systems don't use salts or chemicals. You'll love the way your water tastes, smells, and looks. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Are you intrigued by paranormal talk radio? You'll love the new paranormal radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the paranormal radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the paranormal radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. Tonight is our 5th anniversary. Very special event because Richard Bleepin Dolan is with us. And Richard, now I want to get into your mind a little bit in this respect. You see something strange in the sky. We've done that together. You've had your own sightings on your own too as well, and we don't need to revisit any of that. But when you see something, what goes through your mind? How do you start to calculate? How do you formulate? What goes through your mind?
I haven't had too many moments in my life when I have seen what I think is a UFO. I mean, I could say 3 or maybe even 4 distinct occasions. One of them where I was with you at Contact in the Desert a few years ago. And on all of the occasions, particularly the first two where I was with each of my children, first my son and then years later with my daughter, I saw something unusual in the sky that really made me stop and go through all of the checklists of like, could it be this? Could it be that? And could it be this? And so in other words, like the first time I saw what I feel is a UFO, I was with my son about 20 years ago, no, almost 20 years ago. He was very little. And I've talked about this a few times. It was a very bright object in the daytime sky that just was incredibly bright. And I remember thinking, this is unusual. Don't take your eyes away. That was probably the first most important reaction was I was locked in, and I'll bet this is the case with the large majority of people who see a UFO. Like you do not take your eyes off of it. You're fixated, and I was totally fixated on this thing. And then I kept asking myself, is that a plane? Why is it moving so oddly? Why can't I see what the shape of it is? Why is it so bright? Why does it seem to be just bright, directed like right at me? Like, why is that? And then why do I have this idea in my mind? Don't look away, because if I look away, I'll never see it again, ever. The most illogical thought that occurred to me was that thought. And this actually happened to me. There was like this almost a command, like, don't look away. It wasn't a command, but I felt it like that. And so, I mean, that's what happens with me. You know, it's I guess what I'm trying to say is when someone, and I'm extrapolating to other people here, but I'm just going to guess, when someone sees a UFO, it's like everything stops. Their mind just goes at full speed ahead and absolute focus. It's an unusual feeling. Like every time it's happened to me, I felt that my senses were turned way up. I felt that my mind was turned way up and that my focus was crystal clear. I felt like that every single time. And it's like you have this knowingness that something special is happening. Like I felt that way each time. It's interesting. You know, I've never really thought about it in exactly those terms, but I think it's all true. Like you get this deep feeling, this is different. Did that happen with you?
Yeah, I talked about this sighting. I know that I mentioned it to you earlier this year when it happened, but I had this daylight sighting up at ECETI, and it just happened to be at ECETI, but it was so unique. And Steve Murillo, you know, our close friend, and you know Steve well,
right,
was sitting next to me, and this man, daylight, right, 3:00 in the afternoon, and this spinning. It was upright, like I keep describing it as a beer can, because it had this. It was 14 miles away. It popped out behind Mount Adams. And it was
14 miles away. How can you be that exact?
Well, okay. Well, first off, I was looking at the top of Mount Adams with everybody else in the middle of the day with a pair of binoculars on a tripod, right?
I see.
So I'm just looking at the mountain, enjoying nature, and just watching the birds fly around, and I'm, you know, just checking out the mountain, and all of a sudden, it just happened. And right out behind the mountain, it was this giant object. It was round. It was tubular, like a can. It's like a can spinning, and it had a silver circle in the middle of it, like a logo, like a friggin' beer can, man. And it was black with the silver logo, and it had silver on the top and the bottom. But, you know, Mount Adams is 14 miles away, and looking at the size of this object, I'm guessing when I say a couple of 100 feet tall, I don't know, you know, it was ginormous. Okay. And it's spinning, right? Now, the whole thing only lasted about 15 seconds, but I entered into the zone exactly what you're talking about. I was focused. The sun is bouncing off of it. It's moving slowly. I was able to absorb it the whole moment and know exactly what I was looking at. And it was extraordinary. And so, but I took my eyes off of it. Right? I did the exact opposite. I jumped up and was yelling at everybody to shoot video and to start taking pictures.
Yes.
And I came back to the binoculars, and as I go to sit down, Murillo sitting next to me with his naked eye goes, "I see it. It's black. It's got a silver thing. It's spinning." And I was like, "Oh, thank God!" Right? Thank God.
Yes.
Thank God.
Yes. Exactly.
Right. And I jump back on the binoculars. I look. I see it again. I get back off. Look at it with my naked eye, and it's way out there. It's black, but I could see it spinning. And I get back on the binoculars, it's gone. And I took my eyes off of it. So I didn't see, when I came back to look at the naked, it's gone.
That's the thing about this phenomenon. It's really one of the most maddening things. And we really need to grasp the significance of this, because this happened to me. It happened to you. I think it's happened to countless other peoples, where you're dealing with a phenomenon that is truly ephemeral. That doesn't mean it's not there. It means it's there and then it's just gone in ways that no one can figure out. This has happened so many times. It's clearly it is a key part of this phenomenon as a thing, as a physical event in our universe. It's an important element of it, like its ability to just leave without us figuring out how it left.
Yeah, and that I have said over and over again, my lesson learned, don't get excited. Do not get excited. Do not take your eyes off of it, because I didn't get to see the exit. I didn't get to see the finish. I didn't see it disappear. I didn't see it vaporize. I didn't see it fly away. I didn't see it shoot away. I didn't see that. And I just, man, what a regret, and I don't know. The Holy Grail, right? The daylight sighting, something like that. I don't know if it'll ever happen again, but I didn't get to see what happened. I didn't see it resolved.
I'm glad that you had the experience, honestly, and I would love to have something similar to what I had, or even better one day. But that's the thing about this phenomenon that we are talking about. It makes it very hard to study scientifically, because it's like it appears when it decides to appear. This is one of the problems from a scientific perspective, incidentally. Like, a scientist wouldn't necessarily deny that UFOs are real, but a scientist might say, that's all well and good, but from a scientific point of view, we really can't do anything with it because we don't have a way to examine it. For an object to be, or for anything to be examined scientifically, there's got to be some control that the scientist is going to have over the experiment. And whether in terms of observation or, being able to replicate the results and so forth. And the problem is that if we're dealing with an intelligence that's greater than our own, which is very possibly the case,
right? And
if they are in control of this, and we may not have a whole lot that our science can do in order to grapple with this, and instead we find ourselves kind of mentally flailing at this, like you did and like I've done, and trying to understand. Because, in the case when I was with my son when he was 3 years old, I was staring at this object with a great amount of focus, but my son was demanding my attention. And I thought, okay, I have to be a father for a second here. So I took my eyes off. I actually pointed to it in the sky with my left arm to hold its position. And I turned for 1 second to my son. 1 second. And I said, hang on, I'm watching something. That's it. And I went back to look at it again, and it was gone in that 1 second that I turned away. It had been this very bright, intensely bright object in a completely cloudless sky. Where was it going to hide? There was nowhere for it to go.
Right.
And yet it was gone in the second that I turned away. I've never been able to figure that one out. That's crazy.
I know.
But that's what we're dealing with.
See, and I had the same issue. It's funny that these experiences are so similar, that when this disappeared, this is what I thought. This is what I thought. It's moving slowly from east to west. It's spinning. I've got miles and miles and miles of clear blue sky. The direction that it's going in, we can sit here and watch this for the next 5 or 10 minutes. That's what I was saying. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And it was gone. You know, I want to go back to the sighting with your daughter. And you said you were you were completely focused on that. How did that resolve?
That was not late. It was a late afternoon, early evening stroll with the family. My daughter was there, and our dog. We had a new dog, and it was mid-July, so it was a few weeks before the annual meteor shower takes place in August. But I keep thinking, I wonder, was it an early meteor? But in any case, we're walking the dog, and I was just being a goofball, and I said, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we all looked up and saw a UFO? Laugh, laugh. My daughter and I looked up, and sure enough, this is crazy. We saw this bright and large and fast object zooming across the sky. No airplane moved this fast, but I've seen a lot of meteors, and this was not as fast as a meteor, in my opinion, at all. Not even close. So it was difficult, and it was bright, it was intense, and it was very level. And in a clear sky, it moved across the sky and went into the thinnest patch of cloud and never came out. My daughter, who was 8 years old at the time, she's now 20, she got a little scared, because it seemed very unusual. And I remembered trying to calm her down and just say, no, it's probably a meteorite. But I didn't believe it at the time. And I talked with her about that many years later, and she still retained a very strong visual memory of it. In fact, I think she saw it better than I did. She saw colors, and I just saw white. And I trust her eyes. They're much better than mine.
Right.
But she had a good memory of it, and she never thought it was a meteorite either. But so there you go. Like in both cases, like for me, there is what I feel was this kind of mental connection. In the case with my son, I'm thinking, don't turn away, don't look away, you'll never see it again. Like, why would I think that?
Right.
There really was no logic to it. And then I did turn away, and it was gone. And then in the case with my daughter, I made this joke about looking up to seeing a UFO, and boom, there was something right there. And, there have been many other times in my life when I've made jokes about looking up and seeing UFOs, and there was nothing there. So maybe this was a coincidence. But still, I can't shake it. There's both of these incidents that seem to have a kind of mental connection.
What was next down the checklist? Do you... I'm going to ask you, what's next down the checklist? Are you thinking there's an intelligent being on this craft with a control stick in his hand? Where did he come from? What are they doing here? What's next on the checklist?
Well, that's a good question. For me, one of the things I keep wondering, and I don't like to go to this, but I can't help it, is to wonder, is there someone out there who is dialed into me personally? And I'm not the only one who's ever thought this. I know that I'm not the only one who's ever thought this. I know a lot of other UFO witnesses, as I've talked to so many, and they all say this, or many of them say it. It's as if they'll feel like I had this feeling that this craft was connecting with me mentally. I've heard this many times. And I don't know that happened with me, but I wondered, and if that's the case, then... And I don't like to think it, because it makes me feel like, what do I think? I'm that special that there's a craft that's just going to be zoned in on me at a particular time. But I don't know. It sure felt like it to me. And so that's a bizarre thought, to think that there's someone out there and they pick you and they say, we're going to give a little show to this guy right here. Like, that's just crazy. And then with what technology? Total telepathy? Or is there an implant, or what is it? I don't know. I don't know the answer to any of these things. So these are some crazy things that I've wondered about, and I don't know if those thoughts go anywhere.
I watched a video earlier today that was just released. James Gilliland and Peter Maxwell Slattery put it out. It's anyway, I make a statement in this film. They were interviewing me after a night watch that we had up there, and I said something pretty extraordinary for me. I had to stop. I don't remember saying this, but I did. And it was the morning after we had this night watch, and we had a couple of hundred people. It was about 200 people out there. And I said, last night we had, I don't know, and I'm quoting myself, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. I went as high as 80. Craft in the sky, zigzagging around. Now,
wait, who said this?
I did.
You say this?
I said it. And that's, we were out there for 2 or 3 hours.
Were there?
Yeah.
It was zigzagging in the sky?
Uncountable. Okay. Now, but
you saw this.
Oh yeah. So did everybody else. I wasn't alone. And we captured almost all of it on video. But the point that is that,
I'd like to see the video.
Right. Different directions, right? Different, and if it's satellites, well, so back up with that thought that I just gave you, right? 50, 60, 70 sightings on an evening. And you go over Washington State, right, on Google Earth, right, and back up and just look at Washington State and just start zigzagging lines over the top of it. That's not satellites, right, going in different directions and change, it's simply not. But now,
if it's genuinely zigzagging, I think a lot of people would like to see this video, Jimmy. I mean, look, here's the thing. I'm not saying that that's not the case, but I am saying there are so many times when someone leads a CE5, okay? And it's so often CE5s. They're like, okay, we're going to go out, we're going to vector in the aliens. And everyone's in this state of mind to be looking for UFOs, and this is true. And they'll see a satellite, and the leader of that whatever party will say, oh, there's another UFO, and they're talking to us. And I cannot tell you how many times have I seen this. And it's just completely
but that's
they're either really, really unintelligent to think that, or they're just faking it out.
Right. Hold on.
Faking out a lot of people.
Yeah, you're right. No, that's not what I'm referring to. This is what I am saying, that over the period of 3 hours, when I say zigzagging, I'm not talking about a ship singularly
so
zigzagging.
You're seeing actual craft that are zigzagging.
I'm not talking about a craft zigzagging. I'm talking about these sightings are coming from different directions and crossing over. They're not like all east to west, and they're all not north to south. They're all over. It's like insanity.
So they're not individually zigzagging, but they're coming in all different directions across the sky.
And so now, and this is back to my point. When I see something like that, and then I picture Google Earth and these different flight patterns, right? That these things are. It's not. I can take satellite off the list, is what I'm saying. To have that over one. Why Washington? Is it going on all over the planet like this?
No, I think it is. I think it's interesting. I've often wondered why Washington, why Mount Adams in that area are such heavy sighting. Maybe it's just very good visibility. I don't know. I did a night watch years ago in the southwestern part of Illinois. So kind of rural, town of Galena, I believe, and it's a really cool area. This is many years ago. And we just were lucky. Someone had a couple of pairs of really excellent night vision binoculars. So maybe like a dozen of us spent a number of hours out sharing them. We had good visibility with the night vision binoculars. It was my first time really having extended viewing with them. I was astonished at how much we could see in the night sky. I was blown away. It was a shocking experience for me to be able to see. I felt like I was standing underneath Grand Central Station, except we were in southwestern Illinois, and and I just thought to myself, we're in one little part of the earth, one little part of the sky,
right?
And we're seeing all of this activity. It was unbelievable. And I saw a number of things that I thought could well have, like ultra high, ultra fast objects. Like we've all seen satellites move across the sky, and you know what kind of speed they go. This was something that was vastly pulsating, fast. Like, what was that? I don't understand. So I think that what you saw, I think actually there's a very significant infrastructure going on around us. And we're not seeing it most of the time, but it's there. And I firmly believe that there's a human infrastructure classified world that is well aware of this, that's probably causing a good portion of it, and that's probably tracking the other portion of it.
When I enter into that frame of mind, which I'm very comfortable with, by the way, then I almost get a little bit angry, right? I just get a little bit angry that if that technology is there and it's not being shared with us and we are not aware of it, I'm not cool with that. And I think that's as big of a story, right, than the UFO side of things, or even more dangerous of a story.
Yes, absolutely. It could be dangerous because, we want the end of secrecy. I think instinctively all of us feel that an opaque and a non-responsive lying government is worse than a transparent, honest, and good government. So we want to have this discrepancy resolved. But I've occasionally wondered, let's say you and me and those of us listening were part of a small little group of people, and that we understood the true implications of the UFO phenomenon, and we understood the true implications of the technologies that we've come to acquire as a result of this. And we realize you could create some really amazing weapons out of this new technology. You can create some very dangerous things out of it. And then we might ask each other, how do we control this to make sure that this doesn't get out of control? Like, you might trust yourself with that type of energy that could blow up the Pacific Ocean, but could you trust your next door neighbor, or all of your neighbors, or everyone in your city, or everyone in your county or country or world? Like, clearly we all know there's going to be people out there who are going to mess it up, who'll do something really bad and stupid and dangerous with these technologies. Like, I could easily imagine secret keepers asking this very question.
Let's take a break right here, Richard. Fantastic conversation. And when we come back, obviously, it's the end of 2018. We're going to 2019. We've got to discuss disclosure and where we are headed with that. But I think the direction I want to go in with this is one you're not going to expect. And we'll talk about all of that when we come back. Our guest tonight, Richard Dolan. It's our 5th 5-5 anniversary. I'll be right back.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station. Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Poor water quality is a major health issue, and it's only getting worse. Municipalities can't keep up, standards have dropped, and pollutants are increasing. Where does it all end? It ends by keeping the pollutants outside of your home with HydroCare's advanced systems available at Wave Home Solutions. No less than the best purification materials and processes have been developed by HydroCare to provide you with healthy, clean water for drinking, cooking, and showering. HydroCare far surpasses the competition in removing chlorine, odors, iron, lead, chemicals, limescale, and much more. Don't settle for less when it comes to your water. We'll take care of the toughest water problems for you, whether it's from a city or well source. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, call 888-997-WAVE. That's 888-997-WAVE. Or go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
Does your basement or crawl space have a damp, musty smell? Well, watch out. That's a sign of too much moisture and not enough ventilation. And that can mean increased mold growth and the buildup of harmful toxins and gases. Don't bother with a dehumidifier. It just circulates the same unhealthy air. Now there's a better way to remove these dangers and odors. It's with the computerized Wave Moisture Control Unit that reduces moisture and expels pollutants months.
We replaced our old dehumidifier with the Wave unit, and in only 3 weeks, our basement is dry and the musty smell is gone.
Wave units require no maintenance, no buckets of water or filters, and costs only pennies a day to run. Breathe better, live healthier with an affordable, no-maintenance Wave unit. Call 888-717-WAVE, 888-717-WAVE, or visit dryhealthyhome.com. Dryhealthyhome.com.
Ride the wave. Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from River Moon. Just click on the River Moon Coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
So are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system. And get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. And like me, you'll be glad you did.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back, Fade to Black, 5th anniversary. Richard Dolan, our last guest of the year. Couldn't get any better. Conversation is exactly where it should be. And I want to get into disclosure now, Richard, and it's this. I'm gonna throw this out there, and I would like your reaction. The reason why, or one of the reasons why, that POTUS or anybody else hasn't admitted to any knowledge of this and come forward is because they are not in control of it. They understand that it is indefensible. They can't protect us, and it is way above any intelligence that they even possess, and they can't disclose that. That's why there is not disclosure.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with that. I guess one thing that I think I've come to understand is that, you know, we're dealing with a secrecy system that's more complex than, you know, things that are confidential or secret or top secret or even special access programs. Like from what we really have learned is that the secrecy program, that each one of these special access programs has its own classification system and has classification systems often within classification systems. You have programs that are nested within programs, nested within programs. In other words, when we go through declassification review, it's actually can potentially very, very difficult and very highly complex because all of these special access programs are unique and they require, like, in other words, you can't just declassify everything dealing with UFOs and expect to get all the information available. Like I've been made to understand that that's not how it works. So even if a president were to say, damn it, I'm going to do this, we're going to get this out there, they can't just wave a magic wand and make it happen. I don't think that's how it works. There's an immense bureaucracy that has grown around this secret, and it has its own power, its own. And then the other part of it, of course, is I think there's pretty good reason to believe that even as early as the 1960s, President Richard Nixon very well may have moved ultimate control of the UFO secret, let's call it the MJ-12 group, to an international setting, that is to corporate international finance and corporations, where they would have fundamental access to the secret even beyond the president, and in a way that's not classified but proprietary.
And keeps it off the books, too, as well. That would keep it off the books.
Exactly. It keeps it impervious to public inquiry.
Freedom of Information Act.
I think this is what happened. And,
right.
There's a couple of reasons why you might think that. There's just basically all been a couple of leaks. One is the controversial, but I think still interesting, majestic documents, frankly, that Ryan Wood and his father Bob Wood have talked about for many years. And I don't dismiss those documents. I know some people do, but I don't. And then in others, there's just been the claim that came from Kelly Johnson to Ben Rich, which was discussed many, many years ago, that Kelly Johnson said this to Ben Rich. These are, the two people who led Lockheed's Skunk Works. That, in other words, Nixon passed off control of the UFO secret to an international call it an international cabal, I suppose. But anyway, for these reasons. And then there's a certain logic as well, independent of any of these speculations, that would support what you're saying. That, in other words, we know, for example, when we look at the office of the U.S. presidency, I mean, I've been saying this for years and years. I've been saying this at least since the Clintons and probably even before then, that presidents aren't elected, they're selected. And there is a huge process behind the scenes in which there is absolutely this thing called a deep state, or I've often called it a national security state, that is behind the power. And so, I don't agree with some researchers who say, yeah, the president can just do anything he wants. The president issues an executive order. I don't think it works quite that well. And we can see that in terms of ordinary geopolitics, ordinary international economic policy and strategy, that presidents, generally speaking, with a few exceptions, are working explicitly for international banking and finance.
And
so with that said, then they're clearly not in control.
No,
right?
they come and go. They come and go. The agenda, when you think about the career, military and intelligence, and banking systems and corporations, those are careers. They last, right? Their agenda, what they want to do, continues after a president leaves office, and it's right. There when they go in. It's going to be there when they go out, and
this was said to me by a very, very astute retired analyst of the CIA. And he said to me, I asked him many years ago, how much do presidents know? The classic question, like we all want to know this.
Right.
And he said, some have known more than others. He said, presidents come and go. The careerists, they're there forever.
That's it. It's a harsh reality. When you absorb that and you understand that, then things become a lot more clear. I want to get to this question. Eric, it's a question of a question. Eric posted this up on Twitter. He says, this is a question for both you and I, Richard. If the two of us had the opportunity to ask someone who you were convinced had the answers in regard to the aliens and UFOs, what question or questions would you ask them? I'm going to throw that out to you first. You have the opportunity, right, to get something answered. What do you ask?
Are they infiltrating our society? And if so, how can we identify them?
That's where you would go?
I think that's one thing I'd want to know. I think there's reason to think that that's the case.
Right. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, I'd want to know. Like, I'd want to know from a counterintelligence point of view, basically, like, are they here, or do they look like us? At least do some of them look like us? Are they infiltrating? And
I don't know. Do you want to know the answer to that?
I do.
Ooh,
I do want to.
Wow. That would make you crash a car.
Like, if they're really screwing with us, Jimmy, you want to know.
Right.
Because I've often likened it to having a really awesome dream. You're on the beach, you're sipping margaritas, it's the sun shining and feels great, but in reality, your house is on fire. And so, do you want to just keep having a nice little dream, or do you want to wake up and deal with the fire? I'd rather wake up and deal with the fire.
I want
know how extensive, how bad is it? And I'd have a million questions to follow up. It would all be pragmatic, practical questions about our infrastructure and their infrastructure. I'd want to know every single thing about their infrastructure, their society, their psychology, what they're about.
Yeah, I think I'd want to stay Neo in the Matrix, man. I think I'd want to stay in the dream.
Have that nice steak.
Yeah, stay in the dream. Yeah, the red meat. But, my question would be a little more fundamental and basic, but it would be this. Are you in the possession of alien technology? Do you have a crash craft? Have you been given a craft? Are you in possession of off-world technology?
I already got that answer from someone in the know.
I
asked that question of someone almost 15 years ago, and I was quite satisfied that he was A, in a position to know, and B, he was not BSing me, and he said yes.
Okay, who was it? Is he still alive?
Yep, he's alive. Very well known. Well, I don't know, very well known, but well known enough. Brilliant, well connected. One day I will mention it, but I can't. But I will just say this is someone who had a very, very good position, and I was able to get an audience. I had enough time alone. We actually bonded. We had a lot that we connected on, and I'm choosing to believe him. And he said to me, this is years ago, I'll tell you what I asked first. I asked him, I said, I don't want to know your opinion at the moment. I'm not interested in your opinion. Everyone's got an opinion. What I want to know is, have you, in a professional capacity, ever had reason to believe UFOs are real and or alien? So that was my initial kind of opening up the conversation question. And he said, I'll go a little bit further than that, and I will tell you what I've known scientifically for a certain number of years. He said that I know. He said that at deeply classified levels, we have scientists who have in their possession, and this is where he practically whispered. We were alone in a room, and he whispered anyway. He said, alien technology and at least one body that I personally know about. And the thing is, like, we all assume that, those of us who've studied this, we think that that's true. But when you hear someone tell you who has got something to lose in telling you, and who really does have a genuine bona fide history in the scientific and classified world, then that means something. And I remember taking a breath at that time, and my next question was, what did the bodies look like? What did the body look like? Because he said it was one. Mm-hmm. And his answer was really instructive. It was interesting. He said, I didn't tell you I personally saw the body. And his exact words were, the data became known to me in such a manner and with such individuals present that it was incontrovertible.
So you've never,
that's what he said.
You've never revealed his name or identity before?
Never.
Right?
I've told this story before, and I will not give up his identity without his permission.
Okay, but I still get three questions. Professional educator?
Well, I don't want to answer any of those because I don't want to give this person up. As a man.
Okay. Well, no, what I'm trying to zone into here was he, from, the education side, or was he a professional scientist, or was he, with the Pentagon or defense?
I don't know, maybe a little bit of all.
Right. I knew that. See, I knew that's where you were going.
A little bit of everything.
Right. Okay.
Someone who's very well connected. And but like maybe not perfectly connected, maybe like just pretty well connected.
With and when it comes to this,
well enough connected.
when I hear stuff like that, Richard, this is my reaction.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't anybody out there that says these kinds of things, why don't they become a martyr?
I can kind of give an insight into that, for at least from this person's perspective. One other thing he said to me was, one thing that became clear to me is like, by going public, all right, that he would lose access to what information he does have. Like, in other words, a lot of these people know enough to know that it's real and to know a few things, but they don't have all the data they want. They don't have all the access they want. Like, everyone wants more access. Everyone's trying to get another door open for themselves. And the thing is, if you give up the information, it gets traced back to you, then you're out.
Right. But you're now at that point, you are the most important person in the history of mankind. In that you are now immortalized, you will be
if you're able to prove it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, there have been a number of people over the years who've made various claims. I agree with you. I think that it would be the right thing to do.
If you were in possession, okay,
these people.
Richard, if you were in possession, you had the video, right? You had the document. You had a uniform, right, from ET. Whatever it is. Do you go public with it?
Yeah, I would. You'd have to be really careful about how you do it. That's the thing.
Why?
But because we're in an era where everything is debunked. So it's all about protocol. It's all about like provenance and protocol, and you've got to be able to prove it.
But you have all of that in place. It's all in place.
Well, yeah, if I had it all in place, I would not hesitate.
You got a video. You got a video of Obama taking a walkthrough of a flying saucer at Area 51, right? You've got it. You've got the real deal stuff. You've got it. Do you go public with it?
Yes, of course you do. You have to go public, but before you go public, you've got to take the right steps to do everything possible to CYA and to make sure that you've got everything lined up and all of your information is bulletproof. You do your best.
Have you seen whether it's a document or anything else or a video that isn't public? I mean, has somebody showed you something in private where you went, whoa?
One time, a number of years ago, I had one of those classic look but don't touch meetings where, you get shown something, you're not allowed to photograph it, you're not allowed to record it. And so I was able to see a transcript of an interview. And in fact, I have talked about this, so I don't mind mentioning it again. This was shortly before Stephen Greer came out with his book, Hidden Truth, Forbidden Knowledge, in which he talked a little bit about Admiral Thomas R. Wilson. Mm-hmm. And Admiral Thomas R. Wilson was head of intelligence of the Joint Chiefs of Staff back in the late 1990s, so during the Clinton presidency. His position within the Joint Chiefs as head of intelligence was known as J2. I learned this, but doesn't make me an expert on the Joint Chiefs. Anyway, Wilson was there. And this has to do with Greer's meeting. Greer for a little while was connected with Edgar Mitchell, astronaut, in the late 90s, wanting to get congressional interest in, his project and looking into deep black programs connected with the UFOs. They were able to get a meeting with Wilson. This is an amazing thing. So Greer and Edgar Mitchell go in and they meet with Wilson. Greer wrote about this later, but this is before Greer's book came out that I learned about the meeting. And what I learned was that they said to Wilson, look, there are deep black programs nested within the Pentagon that appear to be rogue, that are beyond the control of the United States government, and we're telling you about it, hoping that you can learn about them and get some control over them in the name of the government and the people of the United States, that type of thing. And what I was shown was a transcript prepared by I don't know who, that was an interview with Wilson after the fact, in which he was talking about how he was upset because after that meeting ended, he went knocking on some doors and eventually found that there was a deep black program to do this, and that he was denied access to it, despite the fact that he was head of intelligence for the Joint Chiefs of Staff. That's interesting. And the only reason he was able to get an interview at all was because the lawyers of the program, they're the only ones who met him. He didn't meet with any military people. They met with him and they said, how did you learn about this program? That's the only reason he got an audience with anyone. They wanted to know how the leak occurred. And the quote that I remembered him reading, that I remember reading by him, was his knowledge that the technology he learned about was, quote, not made by human hands. So I read this, I saw this document, right? I was shown this document, I should say. Not allowed to photograph it, not allowed to record it. Now, I am well aware that this is a technique. It's been used in the past. It can be used to provide genuine information that's just because people want deniability, or it can also be used as a form of deception. You know, wouldn't be the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So I keep this in mind. But I will say this, not long after I had that meeting and saw that document, within a few months anyway, Stephen Greer's book came out and he wrote quite a bit about this. Now, he didn't have all the information that I was given, but he had, it seemed to me a fairly accurate perspective of that meeting from his point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I should say is that when I read that document, I didn't know that it was Admiral Thomas R. Wilson. I wasn't given the name. And so when Greer's book came out and I read that, I contacted my source on that and I said, so are we talking Wilson? And the source said, yes, that's who it is. And then I actually went out of my way and I found Thomas Wilson. It's the only time in my life that I did an ambush interview on anyone. I felt kind of bad about it, but not really that bad. Wilson was working for an advanced aerospace company. I cannot remember the name of it, but after you leave the military, you get roped, you get brought in, senior VP for all the weaponry and technology for the breakaway civilization, and that's really what he was doing. And I contacted him. I was able to find him, and I pretended that I was just a regular conventional historian of the U.S. Navy, and that I'd learned about his career and I wanted to talk to him. And he allowed me to call him. And shortly into the phone call, I had to say, look, I'm really calling because I'm a historian of the UFO phenomenon, and your name came up in a conversation, and that got his attention. I told him essentially about the story, the whole meeting with Greer and Edgar Mitchell. He was really funny because he had gone from this genial, like relaxing in his big chair saying, yeah, let's have a nice long conversation, to an ultra high-pitched voice. And he was very angry and kept saying, my memory is foggy, my memory is foggy. And then said, all of that was poppycock. He said, yes, I did meet with them, but everything else is poppycock was his word. So I knew I got to him. And then he hung up. He just ended abruptly the conversation. So I feel like that document that I was shown, I'm inclined to believe it. I think it was probably true. I think it got to Wilson.
I
think I got to Wilson.
What I'm most disappointed about, well, there's a lot of things, but one of the things I'm most disappointed about is that there are many individuals out there that claim to be in possession of videotape or images or documents, but they can't reveal them because of the people that they are tied to. And this material or whatever, it can't be brought out right now. I have to sit on it. And when I hear that, I back up and I don't any longer believe that they are in possession of this stuff. That's what I believe.
Well, a lot of times I would agree with you. I think that's often the case. I mean, there's a lot of people just blowing a lot of hot air.
Right.
They've been doing it for decades. Inside sources tell me this and tell me that. And I'm like, stop. No more with your inside sources. Now, I just told you one of my inside sources, so who am I to say anything? But the thing is, I try not to go overboard with that. Like, most of what I do is very much above board. But every now and then, something will come to me, too. And I mentioned because you asked, but I also have a lot of sympathy for people who are genuinely on the inside. And it's not easy. These people, many of them do take oaths, and it's difficult for them to break it. And not only that, one of the things this particular scientist that I was mentioning said to me, it was very telling. He said, look, let's say I could tell you, I could give you a list of the top 12 people who know everything about this, like a kind of an MJ12 list, all right? Mm-hmm. Let's say I've got that list. I give this to you. Or I myself go to the New York Times, and let's say the New York Times publish it. And I'm even back then I'm laughing to myself like, yeah, the New York Times would never do that. They're totally in the pocket of the CIA and the National Security State. But anyway, go on. So let's say the New York Times publishes it. He said, A, it would be totally deniable. I couldn't prove it. He said to me, I can't prove to you that they're on it. I know that they are. And it would be totally deniable. And then B, it would be traced to me, and I would lose all access to the information that I'm trying to get. And I think that that's not an unusual situation for a lot of these people. How do they may have knowledge, but do they have proof? Can they really prove it to the world? And it may not be that easy.
Do you trust?
Big problem.
Okay, look, Richard, I know it's early in the morning out there. We're heading towards a commercial. You know that I'm going to ask you to hang on for a few more minutes after this, and we can't end the conversation here. That's impossible, but that's what we do every time you're on the show, and that's what happens. But and before we get to the break, do you? Somebody comes to you. He's got bars. He's got stars. Somebody comes to you and says, okay, Richard, here you go. We are ready. I'm going to do you at any point trust the Defense Intelligence Establishment in any way?
I guess I would trust some people. Yes. But I've also been lied to, so I would know not to trust everyone. So it's a case by case. I mean, I think it's naive, honestly, to think that everyone in the military lies. I think it's naive to think everyone in the CIA lies. I don't think that's not how the world is. It's more accurate to say that there is truth and there's also deception in those worlds, and not always in equal amounts. So you have to, we have to keep our thinking caps on. But I don't like these simple, knee-jerk responses like, oh, yeah, like if they're from the DIA or from the CIA, then they must be lying. Like, no, I mean, that doesn't follow to me. But they could be lying. So you have to just gauge the information as it comes to you. Yeah. There's no other way. There's no easy way out.
Yeah, it goes back to, the Gorbachev, Reagan era, the whole trust but verify. There's a lot of validity to that statement. Let's take a break right here, Richard. I'm going to keep you over for a few minutes and tell Tracy I'm sorry and I beg her forgiveness. But you're going to stay with us for a few more minutes.
Yes.
Stay right there. Richard Dolan's our guest. This is our 5th anniversary. Richard's not going anywhere. I'll be right back. Stay with us. This is Fade to Black.
Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously, go Beckley Tappy. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hi folks, CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and my family is safe because of Numana Emergency Food Storage. Just go to the Numana banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Promo code Jimmy10.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. 5th anniversary special event. Richard Bleepin' Dolan is here. We're going to do some overtime. You knew Richard wasn't going to go anywhere. I kind of felt that too. Hey, Richard, okay, here we are. It's New Year's is right around the corner, man. We're at the end of 2018. And the beginning of the year, it seemed a little bit different. The door was cracked. Disclosure was imminent. It seemed like 2018 was going to be the year. And the community was pretty uppity back in January. For you, do you feel a little disappointed? Did you think this was going to be the year for disclosure?
No, I think if people were to go back through any of the statements that I made at the end of 2017 or throughout 2018, I don't think I made any such predictions that I thought things were going to happen or break. I've actually never. We've weathered through a lot of these types of events over the past 20 plus years, and I've just never thought it's on the verge. I do believe that there will be a disclosure at some point, probably in my lifetime, but I've never been at the point where I thought it's going to happen any moment. Now, what happened last year with the revelation of the ATIP program that is significant, and that remains significant in my mind. It's been a year, and we've had a little bit of time to digest it. And while it hasn't amounted to an official disclosure, obviously, it's also not insignificant. I think we can all agree. Like the public discourse is different as a result of that admission. So I think there's something about it. And I think that we're in an era of what I've been calling a drip of disclosure. In other words, there's enough pressure from our society in general, all sectors of our society, that includes within government and scientific bodies to some extent, that are causing information to come out. Because the fact is, this isn't 1980. We're in a different era. We're in a completely digitized age where we are able to share information in ways that were not conceivable to earlier generations. And as a result, it's causing pressure from society in general. And those people with the secret are being forced into a position of having to adapt to that. And that's causing not an admission or acknowledgement that they have to let the secret out and just give it all up. No, but it does cause an acknowledgement that they have to give up little bits here and there to deal with it. This is why the New York Times covered the story the way they did. I'm convinced of this now, that it's not the authors of the article. They had nothing to do with this. Not Helene Cooper, not Leslie Kean, not Ralph Blumenthal, but the leadership of the New York Times knew that information about this program was going to come out. They knew that information about the David Fravor UFO case was going to come out. And they allowed that story to be written so that they could control the spin on that story, which they did a really good job of that. So in a sense, it was a bit of damage control. And you and I even talked about that earlier in 2018. But even so, even though that article was damage control and that article was spin, and to some extent it was even deceptive, it was still moving the ball forward down the field for us. Like it still was, because despite the fact that there was a lot of information that was missing and even incorrect about it, UFOs became acknowledged again as a thing, as a real thing in our society that we're able to talk about in ways that it was not as easy to do that before that. So we're in a different situation. We're not in disclosure, but I am of the opinion that there will be such a disclosure moment. The thing that I don't know, and I can't know, is what's the mechanism that will trigger such a disclosure. I mean, I co-authored a book years ago on the various mechanisms that might trigger a disclosure. Would it be a sighting that's unavoidable? Would it be a leak that is undeniable? Or would it be some other event, an accident, an insider who decides to let it out? I don't know, but I think that in any of the cases, it will be as a result of the increasing amounts of pressure and capability by the population itself, by us, to be able to record this phenomenon, to be able to communicate about it, and to force this issue open. So that's why it's a drip. You know, those elites are aware they cannot keep this secret forever. They can't. They know they can't. And so they'll let a little bit out when they have to, bit by bit by bit by bit.
But by kicking the can right down the road, further and further, and delaying it, I enjoy the drip. We're all in this together. But by kicking the can down the road, what's the advantage in that? I mean, that's the part that I'm trying to resolve for myself.
Well, there's an advantage for them, for those secret keepers, because the longer you keep the secret, the more power you have, the more money you can make, the more influence, behind the scenes you can wield. So if they can keep it for another 10 years, they'll do that. If they can keep it for another 50 years, they'll do that. If they can keep it for another century, they'll do that. The question is, how long can they keep it? That's the real question. Like, if they could keep it forever, they would do that. But I don't think that's possible. So for them to kick the can down the road, like, they'll kick that can as long as they can kick that can, because secrecy is power and power is money. Like, if you've got acquired technology that doesn't originate from this civilization and you have restricted access to studying it, well, why would you ever share that access with anyone else? You're holding the future in your hands. That's an amazing amount of power and money and opportunity. Like, you'll never give that up. And I think that's the situation that we're finding ourselves in.
The sighting that I had up at ECETI, as crazy as it sounds and everything else, well, it actually happened. But the frigging thing happened up at ECETI, right? In the middle of a forest, in the middle of nowhere. If that happened over Los Angeles, it would be case closed. And that is a situation where not only is it case closed, but all of the things that we are talking about now, that technology and kicking the can down the road and the petrodollars and the money and the infrastructure, everything, all of that comes to a crashing immediate halt.
Yeah, it's true. So that tells us that these other beings, maybe they don't really want to be the center of attention, and they don't want to reveal themselves. Maybe there's a clandestine element to what they are doing. I mentioned David Jacobs earlier in this conversation, and I mentioned him because I had a recent conversation with him. But that's his opinion. They're here in a clandestine mission, and it's not a good mission, by the way, and they do not want to be found out. But then you would ask, well, why do we see them at all? And I don't have the exact answer to that, but one answer might be they're not infallible. They do their best, but they can still be seen. Mm-hmm. That's one possibility. Mm-hmm. Another possibility is that there's actually a substantial infrastructure of them out there, and they do what they can to conceal it. But we see there's enough of them out there that we see them every now and then.
And what do we do with, you mentioned hive mind a few times, mm-hmm. and then we have a crazy situation here that involves what appears to me to be, literally millions of people on this planet that are talking about receiving messages or channeling information, abductions and visitations. This isn't a few hundred people. We're talking about a big chunk of right. civilians here that are speaking about this. Is that the hive mind? Is that is that part of our reality? Because not all of these people are crazy, which is the way that they are labeled.
No, they're not all crazy. It's an interesting phenomenon, this whole idea of the downloads and telepathic connection with these other beings. And I'm going to be perfectly honest with you and tell you I've never known how fully to grapple with this, because I mean there's a number of these people I've spoken to, and I simply do not believe them. I'm just going to tell you right out. I don't believe them all. I think some of them are completely full of it. They may believe themselves, but I don't believe them. However, there are people out there who I do believe them. Like I'm married to a remote viewer. I don't need to be persuaded that we have capabilities that are like that. So I have to ask myself, what is going on when people are having these telepathic connections? But I want to go back to the hive mind thing for a minute, because if you assume that they're that this society that we're dealing with is very telepathic, and there's a lot of reasons to think that that's the case, then how would you not have a hive mind, right? Because if everyone's telepathic, you kind of know what everyone's thinking.
That's right.
And it would almost, by its very nature, create a hive mind where you had no privacy. You've got it's a total conformist type of society. It would be very difficult, it would seem to me, to have a lot of real individuality when everyone knows everyone else's thoughts, and everyone else can get into your thoughts as well. Because if everyone's telepathic, then you have to ask yourself, to what extent are your thoughts your own? You don't even know.
It's a pretty noisy room.
It would be a world that, I would never want to live in that world. I hear people say, "Oh yeah, we're going to move on to the next evolutionary stage, and we'll be telepathic." And I'm like, "Are you out of your mind? Who would want that? That's a prescription for insanity, in my opinion. I would never. You want someone crawling inside your head? Good luck with that." But it's also a very easy way to create a totally conformist. And by the way, we're moving into it ourselves anyway. Whether the aliens connect with us or not, our technology, next generation 5G technology, 24/7 surveillance, total, monitoring and intimidation of people through digital networks and, your computer trail, your digital trail. We're moving into a world, frankly, within the next 10 years in which there's virtually going to be, it's like a virtually telepathic society, and there will be no privacy, and people will be completely cowed by the culture, by authority. We're already seeing it happen. China's rolling out their social credit system. We think we're that far away from it. You give it 10 years. We're already there anyway with the whole phenomenon of cultural shaming and Facebook and deplatforming. And so you just wait, it's going to get even worse. So we're moving toward this kind of hive mind ourselves. Maybe it's a natural part of evolution, really a bad one, but maybe that's what we're dealing with.
Well, see, this is what is so interesting by that thought is this at the quantum level, where we understand now what entanglement really means and the implications of that. Something affecting something else, not at the speed of light, but at the same time, right? Instantaneous.
Yeah, well beyond speed of light. It's an incredible phenomenon.
It's incredible. And so when we talk about things like telepathy and connections and the ability to do this in real time, not speed of light, right? But at the exact right. This is where the channeling aspect of it and the communication aspect of this with ET, for me, makes a whole lot of sense, in that it doesn't have to happen with somebody that's in orbit around planet Earth on some invisible spaceship, but it could happen from Alpha Centauri, right? And if you accept quantum mechanics and quantum theory and entanglement, which we know it's been proven to be real, then that type of communication is as real as anything else. And that's where I have a hard time. There are those out there that are completely full of it. I totally agree with you. That's absolutely. There are others.
You live on the West Coast.
My neighbor. I'm communicating with them now. Angeles. Yeah. But it's happening too much with too many with that. And that's the thing. And could it be deception, going back to David Jacobs and others that say,
yeah, maybe. I would like to address something you just said, which is really interesting. So you made a really good point. If people are getting let's say a telepathic download or a connection, why would it have to be from a ship in Earth orbit? Why couldn't it be from a much farther place? Well, remember earlier in our conversation, we were talking, I brought up the whole thing about how our brains are smaller than that of our prehistoric ancestors. And this is verifiable. This is no question about it. It's 10 to 15% smaller. Mm-hmm. I liken it to the amount of taken out by an ice cream scoop from their brain. Mm-hmm. So I had an interesting chat with one researcher some time ago who did a lot of work on Göbekli Tepe and also the whole ancient astronaut theories phenomenon. He's out of Tasmania. His name is Gordon White. Gordon White. Love this guy. Anyway, he had an interesting idea, and he had a book called Starships. That's it. And he said, what if ancient contact wasn't in the form of aliens landing and meeting with people and telling things, but what if ancient contact was in the form of telepathy or what we would call magic or some kind of consciousness connection with human beings who had larger, more significant brains? Maybe that part of their mind was much more psychic, much more in tune with elements of the environment. I bet it was. It would have to be a functioning person in a hunter-gatherer society. You needed to be able to be completely in tune with the world around you in every way, and that might very well include a mode that we would call psychic. So maybe we're like psychically crippled compared with those ancient people. And what if, this is Gordon's idea, they were actually, like when you talk about the Dogon and their connection with the beings from Sirius A and B and so forth, and that whole story. Well, is it really likely that extraterrestrials would land and talk to the Dogon and give them astronomical information like that? Or would it be more likely that ancient people would have had a telepathic connection in one way and gotten that information somehow and then written it out? Like, that's interesting to me. So, and indeed, consciousness, this is the one crazy thing that we need really to incorporate. Consciousness doesn't seem to have space and time limits, does it? No, it's beyond that. So in a sense, what you're saying is totally true. And this is the one thing that keeps me from dismissing some of the most, really far out new agey channelers, people that I think, I just eye roll. Honestly, it's just a big eye roll for me. But is it really impossible? And I have to say it isn't impossible in every case that someone may be contacted by an intelligence from far, far away. So for that reason, I keep my mind open. Like I have to.
Yeah, what happened to me, channelers, I've had many on the show, and one that, and this was years ago, Richard, years ago, Daryl Anka, who, is one of the biggest channelers out there.
Bashar.
Yeah, Bashar, great guy. Anyway, years ago, so a while ago, I heard him. He was channeling Bashar, and he explained.
Bashar, by the way, endorsed my book after disclosure. Just want to say.
Did you get an autograph?
No, that would be nice. But anyway, the endorsement was nice.
He did this explanation. Yeah. He did this explanation of time travel. And I went and listened. Now, different from anything else that you've ever heard. We don't need to get into that. We don't have the time. But I listened to it over and over again. And the more that I listened to it, I just thought to myself, you know what? That came from off planet. That right there, that concept of time travel was not some science fiction mindset from here. It just simply wasn't. And that's when I just had to back up and try to figure out possibly what is going on. Quantum theory and entanglement came later, and for me, it explains a lot. It opens the door to the possibility of an explanation for what so many people are apparently hearing and connecting with.
Well, I would like to read that explanation of time travel. I think it'd be interesting. The thing is, channeling, I can't dismiss it entirely. I just can't. I'd like to, but I can't. And there's something that's going on with that process. Like there's something that's going on. Now, what is it that's going on? I spoke to a channeler a couple of months ago, not long ago. I think he's very serious and dedicated. And I liked what he had to say about it because he said, look, I don't really know what's going on when I do this. I don't know what it is. I don't know if I'm actually channeling some other entity, or if there's a part that's deep inside me that's doing this, or if there's a part that's deep inside me that's connecting with some other general intelligence out there, or is it something specific? Like, he didn't know. And he also, I thought, had a very kind of just smart attitude in the sense that I don't really know how much of this is true, and how much of it is filtered through my personality, how much of it is filtered through the things that I know already. You know what I mean? Because it's really true. Like, channelers, we cannot deny this. They speak very much in the cultural milieu that we live in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, they just do. They speak in terms of the culture that they live within. They speak in the kind of era that that they're living within. I mean, I've never heard a channeler who's speaking in a completely incomprehensible, like the way, think about how different ancient Greek would be and how differently they would speak. Forget the language difference, but just the mode of thinking. It's very different from how we are. But yet all channelers really speak in fairly comprehensible kind of contemporary lingo. So the point is, like, some of this is definitely the filter is the mind of the person doing the channeling. I think there's no denying that. So then the question is, what is the other part? Where's that coming from? And it's interesting. I would like to get a channeler who's able to provide truly verifiable information, whether mathematically, whether in terms of secret information about the history or politics, for that matter, or some other interesting, verifiable information, rather than something other than how to live your life in oneness with the rest of humanity, or platitudes. I'm not interested in platitudes. I'm kind of done with that. But I'm interested in information. So if a channeler can provide me with information, I'm all ears.
What's going to be great is I look forward to the next time you and I are hanging out and you pull me aside and you go, okay, Church, check this out. I just received a download. And Richard, I'll keep it to myself.
No, if that were to happen, I would talk about it.
I would too.
I'm way past the point of thinking, I've got to guard myself publicly in this way or that. I don't care about that anymore. That was a part of my life. I'm done.
You're done.
I'm done with it. I'm serious. So I'm about one thing and only one thing. I want to be authentic. I'm not about BS. I'm not about holding back. I'm going to give my honest take on every single thing that happens, and that's it.
That's why
I'm telling you. That's all that I care about anymore.
That's why you are Richard Bleepin' Dolan. Hey,
life
man,
is too short.
Thank you so much, and happy holidays and Merry Christmas to you and Tracy. I know she's sitting right there. Thank you so much, Tracy, for letting me keep your husband into this overtime. And just have a great, safe holiday season, Richard, and all the best to you. Thank you so much. You made this show perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. It was a pleasure.
You're the best. Richard Dolan. And, of course, it's all right there, Richard Dolan Press. The links for Richard are over at jimmychurchradio.com. We went to the bloody end. I've got to roll credits and get out of here. Great 5th anniversary. Thank you to everybody out there that was hanging out with us tonight. And tomorrow night is Fader Night, open lines all night long. Teresa Yannaris is going to be here with Divine Frequency on the airwaves, followed by open lines all night long. And you guys can all call in and say, yo, what's up? And we'll do that all night tomorrow night. With that, Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Camarion. Show is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, and Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy. SpaceboyMusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. It's broadcast owned and copyrighted 2018 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Richard Dolan at Rich Dolan on Twitter. Of course, there's the Richard Dolan Show on KGRA. Everything is over at jimmychurchradio.com. With that, I'll see everybody tomorrow night, Fader night. Until then, everybody be safe. Go back, Lee Tepe.